So when you have a bunch of people, 8 billion people on planet Earth saying, I to each other, what's that going to do? It's going to create some conflict. I want this. Well, you can't have that because I want this. No, I have it. I want to have it. You can't have it. I want to, back and forth, back and forth. But this is good. It's cleansing the water. It's boiling the water. It's getting all the toxins out of the water. And it's helping us focus on who we are. There's no hiding. This is why the theme of the week is courageous authenticity, because it takes courage to be authentic. It takes courage to be transparent. It takes courage to take off the facade and stop pretending to be somebody that you're not. Welcome to the weekly transit, your guide to understanding the current planetary and astral alignments. Together, we'll explore how to harness these cosmic frequencies, empowering you to reach your highest potential as you navigate the days ahead. I'm your host, Scott Tajarian. Welcome to the weekly transit. This is the week of March 17th to the 23rd. This week we will be covering 6 transits highlighted by the Sun transiting into Aries. But before we get into that, I want to highlight the interviews that I've done the past couple weeks and the ones that are coming up this week, some announcements to make. So again, I hope you are enjoying the interviews. I've heard from many of you. I really appreciate the feedback. Of course, any positive experiences you're having in listening to the interviews that I've done with the many people that I've had on the podcast so far. I mean, so far I've had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Jennifer Paulo this past week was our 10th guest on the podcast. It seems like so much more than just 10, but I guess 10's a good number. But Jennifer and I discussed astrology and religion, very interesting conversation, or more specifically astrology and Christianity. Really enjoyed my conversation with Jennifer. The week before that was Krista Rauschenberg, where we were discussing the Akashic Records and Krista's journey to become an Akashic Records reader, also discussing her podcast, which is called The Beginner's Guide to the Third Eye. And I hope you've had a chance to listen to some of Krista's podcast. Hope you've had a chance to check out Jennifer's The Healers Are Rising, her blog email that she sends out every week. Really, really positive vibes. If you're looking for positive vibes, go to Jennifer Paulo and check out The Healers Are Rising. This next week, we are interviewing Charisse Tatum, who is a friend of mine from back when I was waiting tables at Nick and Steph Steakhouse in downtown Los Angeles. She is actually the cousin of Shara Prophet, who many of you who listen to the podcast know Shara because I have another podcast with Shara. And yes, I am still working on editing our latest season and hope to have that out soon, sometime soon. Just, life is so busy, so much going on, but getting closer and closer to finishing that up. Just really have like 3 more episodes to edit. But thanks to Charisse, she connected me with Shara, and Shara and I have had an amazing collaboration over the last couple of years doing our other podcast, The Uncharted Territories. If you haven't listened to The Uncharted Territories, it's on all the podcast streaming platforms. It's a podcast where we look at public figures who have died, maybe unexpectedly or prematurely. We're looking at the life, death, and afterlife of their lives. Shara is a licensed hypnotherapist. She's a psychic medium. She meets with their spirit and then takes notes and then shares those notes with me on the podcast as I reflect astrologically. But Charisse is an amazing woman in her own right, not just in being the cousin of Shara Prophet, but Charisse, wow, what an inspiring episode that was. I can't tell you how many times Charisse, she's a creator, an innovator, an entrepreneur. She's somebody who I don't even want to get into it too deeply because I'm not going to speak to it as articulately as we do in the episode. But if you want to be inspired, if you want to learn about travel and maybe some tips in traveling, because Charisse is a master traveler. And before that, along with working in the restaurant with me, she was a red carpet host, like interviewing just hundreds and hundreds of celebrities at press junkets and on red carpets. And she's just such a positive, bright, shining light. All these individuals, I just think like Krista and Jennifer and Charisse, just all such positive individuals. Really loved speaking with Charisse, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. This week on March 18th, Tuesday, I was invited back on with Delisa Hawking. Delisa is doing a weekly YouTube live every Tuesday from 2:45 Pacific, 5:45 Eastern to 3:45, 6:45. So it's an hour. It starts at 2:45. It ends at 3:45 Pacific or 5:45 and 6:45 Eastern. Delisa, fifth generation psychic, an incredible interviewer, host, medium. Love collaborating with Delisa. So she invited me back on to be live with her on YouTube on Tuesday, March 18th at 2:45 p.m., 5:45 p.m. Pacific Eastern, 2:45 Pacific, 5:45 Eastern. We're going to talk about whatever Delisa wants to talk about. She in this weekly live that she does, she usually goes through various news stories. I did one with her a month ago, back in February, and we looked at different news stories and we reflect the astrology, and she talks to her guides and they give her insight as well. So it's a really fun interactive forum and format, because if you're there live, then you can chat in. She will, if you have any comments or questions, she will respond to them, and so will I. She'll bring them up and we'll respond. So I'm really looking forward to having another conversation with Delisa. It's always a joy to connect with her, and I hope you're able to join us. Now, as we get into the week, I want to kind of set the tone with something I posted on Instagram last Monday. I put, or maybe it was Sunday, I can't remember, the week before this week, where there was an individual at a CarMax car dealership in Los Angeles who completely lost their mind, and apparently they were upset about the price. I mean, don't quote me on any of this because I'm just reading this off of a Instagram post that I reposted. But the image is, you see this person in their SUV, just driving through this car dealership, backing through doors, breaking windows, hitting other cars. 2 people were critically injured. I think another 8 people were also injured. And apparently this individual became unhinged because they did not like the resale value that the salesman was giving them. It really just brought something up for me in terms of the astrology. And then I was talking to another client around the same time that was sharing another story with me that I was not aware of, but I guess it was maybe a week or two ago that there was a cheerleading conference in Dallas where two parents or a group of parents got in a fight with each other. They started shoving each other, and they pushed one of them into a pole, and something came down, and it created this loud sound, and there was the fear that there was an active shooter, and just thousands and thousands. You can go online and look at these videos on the socials. Thousands and thousands of young girls and parents like running out of this Dallas Convention Center. It created a stampede. I mean, there was I think tens of thousands of people there, and it was a real incident. So I bring this up because, goodness, what is going on? What is going on with people? What is going on with society? People have literally lost their minds. And this is something that I had been alluding to for years now. I've been talking about this for years. This was coming this year, 2025, 2026 it's when it's coming. And the reason why it's coming is because these planets moving into Aries. So all year we've been talking about all the planets in Pisces. And we've been talking about Pisces a lot because not only this year because of the planets transiting in Pisces. Last year, Saturn moved into Pisces. It's still there. It's going to move into Aries later this year, but then move back into Pisces, but then back into Aries. But it's really Neptune, which has set this sort of underarching tone. When Neptune transited into Pisces back in 2011, and then it retrograded into Aquarius and then moved back into Pisces, where it has been ever since 2012. And the phrase that I keep using, or the analogy that I keep using when I talk about Neptune in Pisces, is Neptune is the planetary ruler of Pisces. It's the god of fresh water and the sea, the planet of illusion, deception, compassion, and intuition. It represents the unconscious. And when Neptune transits through the sign that it rules, the veil is thinned. Neptune and Pisces represent the ethereal. It's like looking into the water. It's like, is that a fish? Is that a shell? I can't tell. It's not clear. It's the dream world. Neptune is the cloudy planet. What's on the surface? We don't know because it's cloudy. We can't see it. So there is this ethereal nature to Neptune. It's a very heavy energy. The unconscious. The unconscious is heavy. It's heavy because that's where we keep all of our psychological baggage that we don't want to deal with, the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame. We push it down into our unconscious and we hide from it. We hide from it. And so when you think about Neptune transiting through Pisces from 2011, 2012 until now, and literally next week it's going to move into Aries. Next week, not even this week intense. Next week, oh boy. Whoa, okay. Because next week we're going to be talking about 9 transits highlighted by Venus retrograde into Pisces, Mercury retrograde into Pisces, Neptune in Aries, and the new moon solar eclipse in Aries. So 4 major transits occurring among 9 transits next week. This week is 1 major transit amongst 6 transits. So we're kind of gearing up. The water is boiling. The water is boiling. And so what does that mean for us? We've got to jump out. We have to be authentic, transparent. We have to be who we are. We need to. The theme of the week this week is courageous authenticity. The theme of the week this week is courageous authenticity. So where is this coming from? We got a lot of Pisces, a lot of Aries. We're bouncing between these two signs, and it's like the water is boiling. The water is boiling. We're getting cooked right now. And so the metaphor that I've used over the years is like we need to, well, let me go back a step. Let's talk about Neptune and Pisces. So when you think back to 2012, what was going on in your life in 2012? What was life like in 2012? Think about how much has changed in the last 13, 14 years. 13, 14 years ago, words like triggered and woke did not have the same meaning that they had then. Why is that? I'll give you the answer in a minute. There were not phrases like binge watching, doom scrolling. Instagram, think about Instagram in 2011, 2012. It was nothing like it is right now. Nothing like it is right now. So much has changed. The opioid epidemic occurred in the last 12, 13, 14 years. Cannabis has been legalized en masse the last 13, 14 years. Think about all the superhero movies or Star Wars movies that have come out since 2011, 2012. I'm willing to bet that all the superhero films and TV shows that came about between the invention of television or the invention of film and 2011, 2012 is less than the amount that came out in the last 13, 14 years. Why is that? This is because of Neptune and Pisces. When Neptune transits through Pisces, the veil is thin. And what that means is we're picking up the energetic frequencies of the people around us. We're feeling the pain and suffering of others. This is why we become triggered when somebody is acting a certain way. We become triggered because the way that they're acting actually reflects something within us. Reflects something that is deep within your unconscious, that is being called to the surface so that you can deal with it. When somebody says the word woke and you feel triggered by that word, there's something within you that you need to look at. When you're spending time with certain people or you're watching something on TV or on your phone or on your computer or on a screen, and then you feel an urge to escape through cannabis or alcohol or opioids or any sort of drug, any sort of form of escapism. If you have an interaction with somebody and then you want to escape into the TV or into a screen, video games. Think about video games. Like they sell out stadiums now, arenas, to watch other people play video games. What? Yeah. That's how desperate we are to escape. Pornography is, pornography is everywhere. Everywhere. Why? Because we have this desperate urge to escape. Why do we have this urge to escape? Because there are issues that exist deep within our unconscious, our guilt, our shame, our regret, our blame. What are you blaming yourself for? Or what are you blaming others for? What do you feel guilty of? What do you feel ashamed of? What do you regret? Whatever that is needs to come to the surface. And if you're escaping through drugs, alcohol, or other forms of escapism, then you are preventing the healing from happening. And that's where we get to Neptune transiting through Aries, because I've been counseling my clients, everyone who's taking classes with me, and I want to promote the moon cycle class, which I've got some new times for the moon cycle. If you've been to a class and you're like, oh, Scott, I can't go to a class because, they don't work with my schedule. Well, I've changed some things up. I added a class on Saturday, and I moved my Monday class, which I had to Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. So those are two classes that are a little newer in terms of the Tuesday class I've never done. The Saturday class I've been doing for about maybe 6 months or so. And then, of course, there's the Wednesday class. That's my staple class, because I've got such a solid group of people that just show up every Wednesday. So if you want to learn how the new moon solar eclipse in Aries and the full moon in Libra will be affecting you directly, and what you need to do to work with that energy in a way that's productive and empowering for you, I encourage you to enroll in my moon cycle classes at theweeklytransit.com. Now, what I've been sharing with everyone that I'm working with over the last few years is you need to really focus on delving into your unconscious, facing your psychological baggage, the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame, with compassion, so you can integrate those thought patterns and memories with understanding, forgiveness, and love for yourself. Because if you don't, then when Neptune moves into Aries, that is when the collective unconscious of our psychological baggage, our psychological dumpsters, are being pushed into the street and lit on fire. And that's what you see with this Dallas cheerleader incident and the CarMax driving incident. I mean, you don't drive your car through a car dealership because the salesperson gives you an appraisal of your car that you didn't like. There's obviously something else going on there, and you haven't dealt with it. And because you haven't dealt with it, now you're inflicting damage on people and property. And that's not what we want. So we need to clear that psychological baggage this week. Because the water's already boiling with Venus and Mercury and Chiron in Aries. This week there are some real opportunities to do some deep healing. And we need to do that now. And even in doing it now, there still may be some baggage that comes up once these longer transiting planets like Neptune transit into Aries. But the sun's transiting into Aries this week. So this week we're going to have a short period with the sun, Mercury, and Venus retrograde in Aries, and Chiron in Aries. So that's 4 planets. 2 of them retrograde, all in Aries. That's intense. That's hot. Expect conflict and do your best to avoid it. But don't run from it. Don't hide from it. But don't seek it out necessarily. Is that making sense? My God. I feel like I'm lost in the Pisces cloud. What I'm trying to say is, if somebody on the street is screaming and yelling at you for some reason, don't engage. If somebody on social media is screaming and yelling at you, don't engage. Now, if someone in your family, one of your friends, starts screaming and yelling at you, okay, well, that's something you have to deal with. Is that clear? It just feels like there's a lot of heat right now, and you don't know what people are going to do that are outside of your circle. And maybe there's some people in your circle where it's like, actually, Scott, when that person starts yelling at me, I go the other direction. And maybe that's what you need to do. And that's part of becoming authentic in who you are. If you're somebody who wants to be peaceful, then you need to engage peacefully. And that's the challenge when you've got 4 planets transiting through Aries. But before that even happens, let's talk about these first 2 aspects, which involve the sun, before the sun transits into Aries. Because as the sun completes its transit through Pisces, it makes 2 key aspects. The first one being with the North Node in Pisces, the second one being with Neptune in Pisces. These 2 aspects occur kind of simultaneously, and the North Node is a little closer to the sun beginning the week than Neptune. So the sun forms a conjunction with Neptune from Saturday to Tuesday, March 15th to the 18th, with the exact conjunction March 17th. And the sun's conjunction with Neptune occurs from Monday to Thursday, with the exact conjunction occurring Wednesday, March 19th. So the sun conjuncts the North Node from March 15th to the 18th, and it conjuncts Neptune from March 17th to the 20th. So really the first 3 days of this week, or if you're listening to this podcast before the week started, because I'm releasing it on Friday or Saturday, all weekend, March 15th into mid next week, Wednesday, Thursday, a lot of deep introspection needs to happen. Think about your life. There's a real heaviness right now. Are you feeling the heaviness? Are you feeling confused? Are you feeling lost in some way? You're not alone. I talk to a lot of people every week. 10 to 20 people every week, maybe even 30. And pretty much all of them are going through a different variation of the same. Myself included. I'm not absolved to these frequencies. Maybe you're feeling a heaviness, like you don't know where you're going, or you feel a heaviness in where you know where you're going, but you don't know how to get there. You feel a heaviness and you know where you're going, you know how to get there, but you're not getting there. There's a real frequency of mud here. And when you got the fire connecting with the water, and Uranus in Taurus, which we talked a lot about last week, it's like we're wet clay that's being put into the kiln and solidified. This is maybe a time when people are made. What do you want your form to be as you're made? What do you want your form to be as you're made? What do you want to look like? What do you want to sound like? What do you want to feel like? How do you want people to experience you? The only way there will ever be peace on planet Earth is if everybody on planet Earth finds peace within themselves. These transits are trying to help you find peace within yourself. And it can be a very volatile process. Because oftentimes, the person that we're meanest to, that we're nastiest to, that we're angriest at, is ourselves. So what's your relationship with yourself? The person who drove that car through the car dealership and the people who got in a fight at a cheerleading convention, I imagine, don't have a good relationship with themselves. And my heart goes out to them. I send them love, and to those who were harmed as a result of their volatile behavior. I have empathy for them because I have also had a lot of rage in my life. It's something that I still deal with. I think it's an ongoing thing. You continue to learn to make peace with yourself. You continue to learn to love yourself. It's not like, oh, I did it. All done. Now life is clear sailing. No. The assignment continues until it's over. It's not over till you're dead. And then it continues as your spirit goes on to the next chapter. Wherever that is, whatever you are, however you rematerialize or remanifest, whatever the terms are, you continue. So what I'm imploring to you right now is the opportunity, especially Saturday to Wednesday, Saturday to Thursday, is to delve into yourself. Now first, look at the world around you. Do you like the world around you? Do you like yourself when you wake up in the morning? Do you like yourself when you go to bed at night? Do you like the people that you see each and every day? Do you like the way your home looks? Inside, outside, your car, inside, outside? If you don't like what you see, do you like your job? If you don't like what you see, then this week is an opportunity to go within yourself and reimagine the dream. Maybe you're unaware of what's going on within you. But you look outside yourself and I'm like, I don't like this. Okay, well, if you don't like this, what you see outside of yourself, then something's going on within yourself that needs to be addressed. We all have this. Nobody is exempt. Not even the wisest guru, self-help, whoever, celebrity, political figure. We are all dealing with this. We all are experiencing our own personal hell. Not all the time, but from time to time. And this is the time to go within and forgive yourself. Okay, well, how do I forgive myself? Well, first of all, recognize that anything you look back in your past, You say, well, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't drive my car through the car dealership. I made a mistake. Yes, acknowledge that. I made a mistake. I did. I made a mistake. I'm sorry for that. Okay, good. Good. Now, what brought you to that point? Has there ever been another time in your life where you had a temper tantrum? Well, yeah, of course. The person who drove the car through the dealership, I imagine that wasn't their first temper tantrum. So go back to that first temper tantrum. Ooh, yeah. Hi, Dad. Hi, Mom. We talked about this. It was either in last week's episode or the week before. I can't remember, but you know how we're this wet piece of clay. You arrive on planet Earth, and it's like, oh, here I am. How did I get here? What? What is this? Who are these people? They're 20 times the size of me. I'm at their mercy. If I go to the bathroom, if I soil myself, if I need to eat, I'm dependent on them. And yet they seem overwhelmed by me. Oh no, I'm a problem. I'm a problem in their lives. Now they're angry at me. They're yelling at me. They're screaming at me. They're hitting me. They're harming me. There's something wrong with me. That's where you show yourself compassion. Oh my God, you were a baby. You were a toddler. You were 4. You were 7. You were 10. You were 16. You were 20 years old. What did you know about the world? Oh, 20, you thought you knew a lot, but then get to 30. Yeah, you realize you still had a lot to learn. And that's the point. When you look at the language of astrology and you see the 3 root symbols, the 3 root symbols tell you who you are, where you are, and what you're here to do. The circle of spirit is who you are. You're an eternal soul, no beginning, no end. The cross of matter is where you are. You're in the world of matter. The cross of matter represents the 4 elements of matter: fire, earth, air, water. What you're here to do is symbolized by the crescent of receptivity. You're here to teach and you're here to learn. So since you're here to learn, you're here to have experiences that hurt you, harm you, and then you make mistakes based on the immaturity that you had with regards to those experiences. Because if your dad is yelling at you, because your dad is frustrated in life, maybe it has nothing to do with you, but then you're there and you do one little thing that sets him off, and now he's screaming at you, yelling at you, hitting you. Did you deserve that? No. Absolutely not. But then you go into the world and you're stressed out and there's something that is pushing you to the edge. How do you react? Like your dad, like your mom, the way they showed you. So when you can go back in time and have compassion for those younger versions of yourself, then you can forgive yourself for all the things that you did that you wish you didn't do. Because you can look back and say, do I wish I did that? No, absolutely not. I wish I didn't do that. Why did I do that? Well, I wasn't given the proper tools on how to react to situations where I felt stressed out, where I felt like I had a need and it wasn't being fulfilled. Does that excuse my behavior? No, absolutely not. But does it mean that you need to blame yourself for the rest of your life? Absolutely not. Because if you continue to blame yourself for the rest of your life, then you're cutting yourself off from the magic that exists on this planet. And don't get me wrong, this is a horrible, evil, ugly planet. But it's also a beautiful, magical, amazing planet. And whichever frequency you're engaging in is the frequency that you're meant to be engaging in. Because you're in the construct of all that is, all that was, and all that ever will be that has materialized into this physical reality. And it's here where we are playing this cosmic game that feels real because it is real to where we are, but there's so much more that exists beyond this plane. Because as the Circle of Spirit shows us, it's your eternal soul. No beginning, no end. There's no end to your eternal soul. This body ends. The physical manifestation of your soul expires. But eventually, when it expires, you move on to someplace, something else. So the Sun conjunct the North Node in Pisces. The Sun conjunct Neptune in Pisces is saying, give it up to God, to the source, to the creator, to whatever power you believe in. And if you don't believe in a higher power, now's the time to cultivate faith. In recognizing that nothing's random. If you think life is random, then you're missing the signs. And that's why we're encouraging you to look outside of yourself and see your life. Is your life what you want it to be? If the answer is no, then you need to reimagine the dream. If you're reimagining the dream, you don't want to reimagine the dream in the context of the nightmare that you experienced in your childhood that created all those neural pathways that told you that men suck, women are fake, or they're whores, and men are assholes, and, white people this, black people that, my parents this, my family that. You created those constructs because that's all you knew to do to protect yourself from the trauma that you experienced at a young age. Now that you're an adult, it's time to deconstruct those traumas, face them with love, understanding, forgiveness. And when you do, that's when the possibilities become limitless. You're imagining yourself and you're like, oh my God, I am worthy. I am worthy of success. Did I do things in my past that I regret? Have I hurt people? Yes, absolutely. Am I proud of that? No, not at all. But I've forgiven myself for it. I've learned from it. I've grown. And if I were in those situations again, I would make a different choice than the choices that I made that led to the regret, the guilt, the shame, and the blame. And when you're in that place, that's when you're playing with the universe. That's when you're playing with the source. And you're saying, I want this, I want that, bring me this, bring me that. And you believe that you are worthy. Now the real test comes when the Sun transits into Aries on Friday, March 20th. Now, every year, the Sun is transiting through Aries from March 19th to the 21st to April 19th to the 21st, depending on the time zone and the year. This year, the Sun is transiting through Aries from March 20th to April 19th, if you're in the Pacific time zone like me. The Sun is exalted in Aries. It's in a position of power because it's in the sign where it's exalted. The Sun rules Leo, that's the heart, but it's exalted in Aries, that's the face. Aries is cardinal fire. Pisces is mutable water. After mutable water comes cardinal fire, the end of winter to the beginning of spring. Cardinal fire, ruled by Mars, the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, and conflict, courage, authenticity, confidence, anger, rage. And it's symbolized by the ram, that creature that doesn't think before it smacks horns with another ram in order to establish dominance so that it can lead the herd. So there's an impulsivity when the sun transits into Aries. And that impulsivity comes from that instinct that I know who I am. Because anyone who's out there who is listening that was born with the sun in Aries could probably tell you that they have a clear idea of who they are. If you're born with the sun in Aries, then you identify with yourself, as opposed to the sun in Libra, which is opposite Aries. Those who are born with the sun in Libra identify with the person they're in relationship with, whoever that may be at the time being. It could be a friend, a lover, a business partner, an acquaintance, whoever they're spending time with in that moment. But the Aries frequency is like, nah, forget all that. I'm focusing on me. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. This is what I think. I. That's Aries. So when you have a bunch of people, 8 billion people on planet Earth saying I to each other, what's that going to do? It's going to create some conflict. I want this. Well, you can't have that because I want this. No, I have it. I want to have it. You can't have it. I want to, back and forth, back and forth. But this is good. It's cleansing the water. It's boiling the water. It's getting all the toxins out of the water. And it's helping us focus on who we are. There's no hiding. This is why the theme of the week is courageous authenticity, because it takes courage to be authentic. It takes courage to be transparent. It takes courage to take off the facade and stop pretending to be somebody that you're not. This week is a good reminder to yourself to remember that the next time the planets and stars will be aligned in the way that they were aligned when you were born is over 25,000 years from the date, time, and place of your birth. So you are a divine, unique miracle. There is nobody on planet Earth that is exactly like you. But we're all born under the same planets and stars, so everyone that we come into contact with is reflecting us and we are reflecting them. So what that means is when you feel triggered by somebody, they're just showing you something about yourself that needs to come to the surface so you can observe it, acknowledge it, show it compassion, forgiveness, and love. Things are going to get hot. So take off your clothes. Show us who you are. No hiding. Be you. Be the person that you're meant to be, which is nobody other than you. It's not looking at someone else and saying, well, they're doing it that way, so maybe I should do it that way. No. What does your instinct say? And if your instinct says, well, I need to see what that person's doing first, then you need to readjust your instincts. You might be getting into conflicts during this period, March 20th to April 19th. Especially those of you who are born with key astrological points or planets in Cancer or Capricorn. Cancer is that subtle approach, side to side, the crab. Aries is straight ahead, hit you in the face. Capricorn is the goat. Well, I got to take this step, and then I got to take that step, and Aries is like, what step? I'm just running to the top of the mountain. Who knew there were any steps? Let's just go. So push yourself past the areas where you've been blocking yourself. And especially with Venus and Mars in retrograde, or Venus and Mercury in retrograde, we want to clear off the plate things that we've been working on, that we've been holding, that we've been procrastinating on. Aries is going to give us that extra push to get things off of our plate that have been sitting there for months, maybe years. They're rotting on your plate. Clear it off. Get rid of it or finish it. Either eat it or throw it in the trash. That's what the sun in Aries is encouraging us to do, to act, to be ourselves. Now, there's some serious tension that comes up right after the sun transits into Aries on Saturday, March 22nd at 4:29 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. The sun in Aries squares off with the moon, the planet of emotions, in Capricorn, the cardinal earth sign that we were just talking about. So, your emotions, the moon in Capricorn, that's the emotions with your goals and ambitions. You are feeling emotionally fulfilled by your goals and ambitions, and that Aries sun is pushing you into a place of discomfort, where maybe you feel like a failure. You haven't gotten to where you wanted to go, and now you're feeling that impulsive nature to just go. But part of you is saying, but it's not done yet. I'm not ready to take the step. Take the step. Take it. Do it. Go. Don't hold back. Sift through the discomfort. So if you're feeling that tension on Friday night into Saturday morning, I think I said the sun was transiting into Aries on Friday, March 20th. I actually meant Thursday. So, there you go. I made a mistake. Please forgive me. But Thursday, Friday night into Saturday night is when the moon's going to start squaring the sun. Friday night into Saturday is what I mean to say. And it's pushing us past those points of discomfort that are saying, I need to get this done, but I haven't gotten it done. It might feel uncomfortable, but just get it done. Just push yourself. Or not. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe you're meant to hold off. I don't know. I can't see all that is. So it all depends on your situation. Of course, if you're curious how this transit or any other transit will be affecting you directly, if you're curious to learn more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. The sun forms another aspect. This week is all about the sun. Seriously, all 6 transits involve the sun. The sun conjunct the North Node, the sun conjunct Neptune, the sun in Aries, the sun in Aries square the moon in Capricorn, and then the sun conjunct Venus retrograde in Aries, and the sun in Aries sextile Pluto in Aquarius. Those 2 transits, like the first 2 transits with the sun, occur side by side, right together. The sun conjunct Venus retrograde in Aries. Conflict in relationships. Something being brought to light in your relationships. What is being brought to light? What are you learning about your partner? Oh, damn, I didn't really... Okay, so that's you? Oh, okay, I see you now. I see you. Well, let me show you who I am. It could be some of that in your relationships where you didn't realize that this person was that way. Ooh. How are you going to deal with that? Are you just going to conform? Or are you going to push back? This is Friday to Sunday, March 21st to the 23rd, with the exact conjunction happening on Saturday, March 22nd, on the heels of the moon squaring the sun. So the sun squares the moon, and then the sun forms a conjunction with Venus. Maybe there's something going on in your working relationships. You're working with a partner. You're trying to achieve some goals and ambitions, and you feel they're holding you back. Maybe it's time to call them out. But if you call them out, get ready. They're going to call you out too. So you got to be authentic. You got to own you. You got to own your side of things. Because you can't just point the finger. You also got to point the thumb. Okay, you're doing this. I can be better this way. You can be better that way, but I can be better this way. Okay, let's have the courage to call ourselves out. Ooh, that's tough. Do you have the courage to call yourself out? That's a tough one. Do you have the courage to call yourself out without pointing the finger at someone else? That's really tough. Like, you're right, I need to do better at XYZ. But I wouldn't have to do better at XYZ if you were doing ABC better. Conflict time. Conflict time. That Aries energy is kind of a one-way street. Either you're going to call somebody else out and then own your own stuff. Or if you're going to own your own stuff, you can't really call somebody else out after. Because then it feels like you're blaming them for what's wrong with you. I don't know. How does that feel to you? What thoughts do you have about all this? Comment on YouTube, on Spotify. Let me know your thoughts. And if you're enjoying the podcast, you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, write a favorable review on Apple Podcasts. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This Sun conjunct Venus transit is supporting us with the Sun's in Aries sextile Pluto in Aquarius transit, which is happening concurrently with the Sun conjunct Venus Friday to Monday, with the exact sextile happening on Sunday, March 23rd. So how does it help us? Well, it helps us because we've been talking about this with Pluto and Aquarius. It's revolutionizing the community. Well, is it Pluto in Aquarius that's revolutionizing the community? Yes. That's the cosmic frequency. But in our material reality, our community is being revolutionized by the people within the community. And the revolution occurs through everybody being authentic in who they are. Show me who you are. I'm showing you who I am. You show me who you are. Oh, wow. We actually are maybe more different than I thought. Can we still be friends? Well, yes, of course. Just because you're different doesn't mean that I can't like you. Or you can't like me. So the hope is that through being authentic and courageous in our relationships, first of all, being courageous and authentic in looking in the mirror and saying, this is who I am. I see you in the mirror. This is who I see. If you can look in the mirror and say, this is who I say, this is who I see, and say, I love you. I love you. I know you've done so many things that, boy, if we could go back in time and change them, we probably would, but we can't, so we have to accept them. And we accept them knowing that if those circumstances came up again, we would make a different choice. There's a common spell going around that says that we're not perfect. And that's a lie. You are perfect. Because even in your worst moment, whoever that was with, you were showing them something about themselves that they could only see through you. And they were showing you something about yourself that you could only see through them. Does that excuse bad behavior? No. Absolutely not. Is that saying that the victim was actually responsible for the person that was harming them or hurting them? No, we're not saying that. What we are saying is there's something within the person who was harmed that they need to look at within themselves that put them in that situation. It doesn't mean that it was right for them to be treated the way that they were treated. But it also presents an opportunity for them to dig deeper within themselves. But when you're looking in the mirror, understand that you are a part of something much greater than yourself. You are not alone here. You impact every single life you come into contact with, even if you're just driving by somebody on the street, driving your car through the car dealership, pushing somebody in the cheerleading convention. Everybody there is impacting each other in some way. You walk by somebody in the grocery store, you don't look at them, you're still having an impact on their life. It's maybe more subtle than your mom, your dad, your lover, your best friend, but it's still something. We want to reach the point where we can make peace with ourselves and love ourselves. So if you can look in the mirror this week and say, I love you. And I'm not going to say it doesn't matter that you did all these things that you regret. Because those matter. Those shaped you. They affected you. And they affected the people that you engaged with in a way that's regretful to you. But I forgive you. I know you've learned from that experience. And it's because you've learned from that experience, I love you even more. And when you can do that in the mirror, and you can walk out of your house after that, walk out of your home, you're going to be more confident. You're going to be more courageous. And you're going to attract people to you that are filled with that same self-love. On the other hand, if you can't look in the mirror and you don't love yourself, when you walk out of your home, that's what you attract. I want you to know how much I love you, how grateful I am for you, for listening to this podcast, for wanting me in your ear, in your unconscious, or your conscious, however you're listening to me. I'm sending you love during this Sun in Aries phase. And I hope that love empowers you and carries you and encourages you to love yourself. To know that you matter no matter where you are, no matter what the circumstances are in your life. You matter, you're important, and you are a gift to everyone that you come into contact with. Thank you for listening to the weekly transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any other transits may be affecting you, or if you're interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog-Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.